Hello, sociologists. Well, we're moving into the final part of our semester. We are turning to issues about stratification. And we're going to spend several modules looking into stratification. And we're first going to talk about stratification in the United States. Now, first, I want to give some explanation about what do I mean about this term stratification. Your book does a nice job on sharing about how the word stratification often comes from geology and how we think about rocks. Well, it's different layers that make up the rock. So layers are on top of each other or next to each other. Um, if we're applying the term stratification to society, it really means that people are at different levels. And think about it, that means people are not equal. So they're at different levels in society. But most of the time, when we're talking about stratification in US society, we're talking about some very specific types of inequality. And that is inequality related to income, to occupation, to wealth, and to education. Some of you may have heard the term socioeconomic status or SES. And that's a term to be used to kind of create a general idea about where people fit in a class system. So SES is an index basically to understand how people's income, how their education, and how their occupation configure or are work together, and that identifies their class status. Now, since we're talking a bit about inequality, I want you to know that as we're talking about US stratification, we're going to be talking primarily about class and economic stratification. We have some other modules that are going to be dedicated to talking about stratification based on gender or based on race and ethnicity. So we will be talking about stratification in those areas soon. And this week, we're going to focus more about the class status and where people are in our economic system. So I wanted to point out something that came up in your book, and it's really early on. I think it's on the What is Social Stratification page. It talks, and I'm going to do some reading here. It says sociologists recognize that social stratification is a society-wide system that makes inequalities apparent. And while there are always inequalities between individuals, sociologists are interested in larger social patterns. Stratification is not about individual inequalities, but about systematic inequalities based on group membership, classes, and the like. And it talks about how the structure of the society affects a person's social standing. Now, I wanted to point this out to you because this reminded me of our sociological imagination. Now, to recall, the sociological imagination is a way to not just look at our personal troubles that affect us, as people often do, but rather to locate things that are happening in society that may be the cause or related to our personal troubles. So C. Wright Mills talked about history, looking back to history, understanding the history of a society and how that affects us. And that's a very important place to look. So I'd like to use our sociological imaginations as we think about US stratification this week. And in fact, our forum is going to be on that. So I'd really like to get your juices flowing to start thinking about that. What are aspects of the social structure that you think are related to a continuation of US stratification? This is going to take some thinking, and don't worry about the right or wrong answer. It's not really a right or wrong answer, but I'm asking for you to think about something in the social structure that you think is related to and perpetuates US stratification. So I'm looking forward to all your insight this week, and I'll talk to you soon. You know you can always call me on Google Voice. You can email me through Canvas or by my email address, cotto@lbcc.edu. Thanks.